What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another review, and today we're going to be talking about a film called The Last Band on Stage that is focusing on the classic, iconic rock band Chicago. And growing up, my family was always really big into, obviously, older music and things like that, so I feel like I was always kind of ingrained in different older pop culture, and Chicago was definitely part of that. And yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a huge diehard Chicago fan or that I'm super well versed in their overall career, but I am familiar with a lot of their big hits, and I'm familiar with who they are in general. But it was interesting to go into this documentary because I really didn't know too much about them. I meant to drop this review a little bit sooner, but due to preparing for Hurricane Ian that just rolled through here in my area in Florida, I just didn't have the time to get this review out sooner. But thankfully, I and my family are safe. There are obviously a lot of others who cannot say the same, so my heart goes out to all of them. But I still wanted to get this early review out for The Last Band on Stage that's coming out as of filming this or recording this tomorrow on September 30th, Friday. So a big thanks to Gravitas Ventures for sending me over an early screener for this. And yeah, going into this, I really didn't know what this was going to be all about, other than the fact that I knew it was going to be about the iconic rock band known as Chicago. But yeah, pretty much the movie opens up and we get a retrospective on their career of the last 50 plus years. And it really ends up kind of leading up to what ends up happening with 2020 when the pandemic for COVID-19 ended up kicking in. And this really kind of chronicles their life after the pandemic and what was going on around that time for them. This is a band that has had a lot of lineup changes, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but has consistently been on the road releasing records with nearly 40 records and over 50 years of consistent touring. This band has gone through so much, and for the first time in a long time, they had to completely halt production because of the pandemic. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking when the pandemic element of the whole thing came into play here. I found myself kind of rolling my eyes because I have seen a lot of documentaries just covering the COVID-19 thing and how everybody was dealing with it. And it does become a bit of a tiresome topic, I won't lie. At least for me, that's how I feel. But yeah, going into this, I didn't know what this was going to be all about. And it turns out that they were actually the final band or final big performance worldwide in terms of a concert before the COVID-19 shutdown. And that was back on March 14th of 2020. So yeah, I found this to be a really interesting watch. Overall, I'm happy to say I enjoyed this documentary as somebody who grew up loving music and actually was in a band right out of high school and for a good few years out of high school trying to make it. I don't do that anymore, and I wish I still did. But yeah, I have a lot of love for music. And even though I'm not a huge diehard fan of Chicago outside of knowing a lot of their big hits, it was interesting to watch this documentary and get a bit of an inside scoop on how they came to be and some elements that I didn't know about when it came to that, as well as also seeing how they handled the last few years with the pandemic and various different member changes and lineup changes and big changes overall to their overall production and how they chose to live their life and how the pandemic really changed them and how their whole approach was different moving forward. Overall, I found this to be an entertaining watch, and I think if you're a fan of classic rock, of Chicago, or just of music documentaries, there's a lot to enjoy here. If you are somebody who is not really familiar with the band and this isn't really subject matter that really interests you, you may find yourself a little bit bored when you're watching this movie. I can't see this completely compelling everybody, but as a fan of music, as a fan of rock and roll, especially classic rock, it was great to see this band that has had this rich history kind of have to go through a really different time in their lives. And even at the age that they're all at, they're still fighting to get out there and play for their fans and play their music and do what they're passionate about. And as somebody who is a huge fan of the arts and creative people, I just have myself really engaged watching this documentary, really interested to see how they did handle all this stuff. And as somebody who once wanted to have the same career that they have and have had for decades, even though they've had a bunch of different lineup changes, it was really interesting just to see how it all played out. So overall, I was a fan of this documentary. I think if you, again, are a fan of music documentaries, of Chicago, of classic rock, there's a lot to enjoy here. But again, I can also recognize that this may not work for everybody. So again, a big thanks to Gravitas Ventures for sending me over an early screener. And I would definitely love to hear what you guys have to say down below. I'm only dropping this review one day early, or a little bit less than a day early from when it's actually going to be releasing online. But I definitely am curious if the movie is what brought you to this review. Definitely leave your thoughts down below. If you're a big fan of Chicago, definitely leave me some comments down below about your love for Chicago, what got you into the band, what keeps you as a fan of the band, and all that fun stuff. Maybe some concert memories that you guys can share down below. Either way, a big thanks to you guys for watching. Hit that like button, comment your thoughts, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.